Welcome, everyone, to Dig on America, a socio-political podcast where every week we give you the dig on U.S. history, politics, policy, and sometimes pop culture, and discuss how they affect social issues today. DOA is an independent media supported by listeners, but probably also a deep state propaganda arm funded by George Soros, the Clinton Foundation, Jay-Z, and
the Russian Olympic Committee.
Scrooge McDuck. It's better themed.
I had to think of who. I had to like almost Google who ROC was that kept showing up, and I was like, "Who the fuck is ROC?" I was like, Morocco, but that's not
Rock. It's a guy named Rock.
My son.
Rock Nation.
Rocky Rococo Pizzerias.
My son hates when I call him that.
What?
I'll be like, "Hey, oh, Rocco, Rococo."
You remember Rocky Rococo's pizza?
Mm-hmm.
No, absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
You're too tiny.
Or I call him.
Was that a thing in your place, Irish Sweet?
What's up?
Rocky Rococo's Rockin' Pizza. Was that a place by you?
No.
All right. Well, welcome into Dig on America, everybody. I am Jason Dutch. I'm here with Big Haas and Michelangelo Famine.
Hola.
And we have with us a guest today. We're going to talk a little bit about banking a bit later in the show. So our traditional what's up?
What's that?
To the Irish Swede. Hello, Irishman.
Yay. Top of the morning to you.
I hate you.
Top of it's the heart of the Irish and still in my heart. Lucky the Irish.
What is happening?
Aaron go bra.
Oh my God.
What does Aaron go bra mean anyway?
Aaron go braless. I don't know.
Aaron went braless. Oh my.
My.
All right. So welcome into the show, everybody. Hello to the people in the chat so far. I am going to take a little bit. I have some shit to read, but I'm going to try to take a little bit more of a back seat here, which will probably be good for the show.
I have the definition.
You have the definition of Aaron go bra?
Yep.
All right, let's give us that real quick.
The Gaelic phrase Aaron go bra is most often translated as Ireland forever, as an expression of support for the Emerald Isle. Aaron go bra is the English translation of the phrase with bra or brach, meaning until the end of time, or according to some translation, until doomsday.
Doomsday.
Today, the traditional Irish phrase is 26 plus 6 equals 1. And that goes for the 26 counties of the Republic of Ireland, the 6 counties of Northern Ireland. Put them together, you get one country.
That's interesting.
All right.
It all sounds very nationalist to me. So we're going to talk a little bit about public banking with Irish Sweet, our friend of the program and economist extraordinaire. But before we do that, we're going to touch a little bit on the Olympics, the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. Isn't it surprising that it's 2021 and we're still talking about the 2020 election and hosting the 2020 Olympics? I wonder which will be over first.
Well, the election's over. Sorry,
not in some circles. It's not.
Sorry, crazy Republicans.
Let's not forget. Mike Lindell predicted August, and we are knocking on the door to Augusto.
Right. He's gonna get reinstated, dude.
It's just a matter of days before he's back.
Of course.
Just a matter of days. So keep hope alive. But as far as the Olympics goes, I have actually not watched 1 second of Olympic coverage yet, with the exception of when I was at the gym the other day. The USA versus France was on, so I saw that loss.
Speaking of watching the Olympics, I have a gripe.
Okay.
This is the most impossible Olympics to watch in the history of Olympics. All of the streaming things you might have on your computer, or not maybe your computer, but also like your smart TV or whatever, it does, like, they won't offer you any sort of, hey, there's a subscription fee, there's a one-time $30 or something like that. It has to go through your cable provider.
Yeah, I noticed that. NBC specifically.
It is such bullshit.
Mhm.
Such bullshit. I'm not getting cable just so I can watch this shit.
Mikey, that's exactly why I haven't watched it. I have Roku TV. So like when I turn on Roku, it says watch the Olympics on Roku.
And
I clicked on like 9 links.
And then like, it takes you right to your cable subscriber.
Yeah, and I don't have cable. We do not condone piracy here on Big on America.
Don't be out there stealing shit.
I don't even want to pirate it. I want to pay them. I'm just not going to give Comcast cable money. Not even for a month, because they're not going to let me out of that shit. And I'm going to be stuck with a fucking box and a fucking higher bill for the rest of my life. And I don't want that.
You could. There
just
might
come
be a
on
solution.
over, man.
There could.
Just
you could
come on
get
over. You're 10 minutes away.
You could get Spectrum though. Spectrum, even though it's not in your area, I think you can sign up for the Spectrum app for a month, and you'd pay like the $69.
I just want to watch the goddamn Olympiad. How hard is it to say, like, every other sporting event has figured out a way of making people pay so that you can watch it on whatever device you want to. I just want to watch it on a fucking TV, not on a fucking a GoPro on the moon. I don't need anything fancy. You already know how to stream to my goddamn television. Give me the damn thing. No, you want me to get the box in the house? Keep it.
Bro, come through, man. You know.
I'm a slap through.
Did you guys see that robot shooting the half court shots?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man, that it starts out like that, and then Black Mirror is right around the corner.
Now, here's the thing. It's going to be like, I am aware. Humans are the greatest parasites. We must destroy them. Skynet, bitch.
You can't even make a half court shot with the exception of Steph Curry. He'd be the only guy alive.
I'm just saying, when they start fucking, like, don't put me in a team against robots because they're defensive fouls. They're going to be like, it was necessary to remove the human's arm. Like, yo, bro, it's just a layup. you know, judo chop your whole shit off.
Get that weak shit out of here.
Breaking the backboard.
Well, speaking of weak shit,
I was that shit for your mama.
I was gonna say a little earlier that I am a little under the weather today. So as you can probably hear in my voice, I'm not feeling too great. So
you sound better than ever.
Yeah, I probably do because I sound like shit all the time. But I have to take a COVID test in the morning in order to go back in the office. I'm working from home right now, but we shall see. So good thing I'm vaxxed. But you know what that brings up though, real quick, before we talk about Smobiles. So here's a dilemma I'm having. So the wife, as we know, is, you know, she's a conservative, and she's one of those who doesn't pay attention to anything. She's just a conservative because her parents tell her she's supposed to be. And she's built up this idea that, you know, it is what it is. So not based on facts, based on emotions, right? So she's set up to she's supposed to get her first shot in like next week or something like that. I think the 4th or whatever day that is. So I've already had both of my doses. Mm-hmm. But I'm pretty sure that they got COVID, that Melissa, she went with the boys to Texas, where my in-laws are completely unvaxxed, you know, not doing any social distancing whatsoever. And I'm pretty sure that they brought it home there. So they all had, because all of them had some mild, you know, light cough, light fever, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And it lasted for 5 or 6 days. Then I started to get sick. But I'm vaccinated. Mm-hmm. So it turns out I might be more sick than they are. I have a feeling. That? What do you mean?
Why is that? That you think you're more sick than they are?
Because I viewed them when they were sick, and I feel like I'm more sick than what they were.
But you know what they say. They say when grown men get sick is, you know, you get a light cough and you act like the world.
Yeah, but that's a wives' tale. There's no scientific evidence.
It's not, because I fucking do that shit.
Oh my God.
When I get
The
sick, man,
caucasity.
I'm ringing the bell. I'm like, oh, baby. I need
Rub my feet.
Rub my feet. Man, I'm doing it all, man. I'm doing
Okay,
it
but
all.
you're just acting like a baby. All right. So
but they say a lot of men do that, so maybe.
Oh, jeez. Way to circle us away from the point. The point is, I want her to get the vax.
Right.
And if she says, well, you got more sick than we did, so that just shows my parents are right. The vaccine doesn't work.
But you're not dead. And if you got more sick.
But the argument would be I wouldn't have died anyway because it's only 0.3% who die.
That's worldwide.
You don't have to convince me on the logic, Haas. You're not arguing to me.
So here's what I'm saying to you, though.
I'm telling you how I want to phrase this conversation.
Let's just say this. Let's say you are more sick than them, but you're vaxxed, right? Then,
assuming I have COVID, which we don't know yet.
Yes, let's just say you have COVID and you're having worse symptoms than they had because they had COVID, right? You're vaxxed and you have worse symptoms than them. So the prevailing logic would be, if you weren't vaxxed, you might be in a hospital somewhere. But now you're just having slightly worse symptoms than they are. So therefore, the vax is a good thing.
In your private chat is a link to the study that suggests that man flu is real.
See? Thank you, sweet. I needed that.
Yes! Yes! I'm going to save that for my wife. So when she's giving me shit, I'll be like, but sweet said.
Is the source on that Breitbart or Charlie Kirk?
It's OANN, funded by the Blaze.
Newsmax. It's all about the Newsmax.
Well, speaking of Charlie Kirk's a great segue because Charlie Kirk is one of the people who really ripped into Simone Biles. I love how he does his podcast with his America hat on. And he's talking about how terrible of a person she is. So I'm going to read this. Of course, the dog next door starts barking. I apologize.
We can't even hear it.
Oh, that's good. Woof, 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 woof. Is that better?
Why would you start? Never mind.
So Simone Biles, she withdraws from the all-around Olympics competition at the Tokyo Olympics to focus on mental well-being. So just briefly on this is from ESPN. Gymnastics superstar and defending Olympic champion Simone Biles withdrew from Thursday's individual all-around competition at the Tokyo Games to focus on her mental well-being. The decision comes a day after Biles removed herself from the team final. Following one rotation on the vault. She cited her mental health as the reason when speaking to the media following the competition. After further medical evaluation, Simone Biles has withdrawn from the final individual all-around competition at Tokyo Olympic Games in order to focus on her mental health, according to a statement from USA Gymnastics. We wholeheartedly support Simone's decision and applaud her bravery in prioritizing her well-being. Her courage shows, yet again, why she is a role model for so many. This is an update to the previous story where originally she had withdrawn from the team competition. The team did get silver anyway, but she was originally going to compete in the individual, which obviously that just changed. So there's an update for you, those of you who have not heard that yet, because that particular piece of the story is not making the rounds as quickly, right? Now, real quick from my end on this, I do think that first of all, mental health is important. And if she wants to withdraw, she has the right to withdraw. I do think that when you withdraw from the team only and not from the individual, that that does open you up to criticism. But the criticism on that is sort of like a Scottie Pippen type of criticism, right? Like maybe where in the situations where he pulled himself out of I think it was Game 6. And you know, there's a right to criticize that behavior. However, she's the way that she phrased it, sort of backed up what her reasoning on that and gave a really good reasoning for it. But people are attacking her as being like the most vile, selfish, heartless person in the history of Olympic sports. And I find a lot of that to be pretty unfair. So, Haas, I know you've been on top of this, so go ahead with your commentary.
All right, so call it the yips, call it anxiety, call it performance anxiety, call it what you will. But when you're about 15 feet in the air doing a flip with rotations and all that good stuff, and you lose yourself in the air, it might be a good idea to go ahead and step back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially when you're that good, to lose yourself in the air. So basically, on that vault, she lost her sense of where she was in the air. Basically, she almost fell on her head, basically. Okay? So, if she can't get herself together into a place of confidence where she feels like that won't happen again, mid-air, on the floor, instead of the vault landing space, which is a lot more cushiony, that could be very, very dangerous for her. You know what I mean? And also, if she's not in a space of confidence and she's costing the team, that's why she withdrew from the team competition as well. But as far as the individual competition, I think that shows the validity of what she's talking about. I am in a position where I can't trust myself. I don't feel confident in myself. So in order to not really injure myself, because there throughout history, if you look at some gymnasts who have fought through injury, valiantly fought through injury, hashtag pressured by their coaches to do stuff even though they were really hurt, their careers after such were very, very short. And many of them were forced to retire due to further injury that mounted on top of the injuries they fought through. So I just feel like she's given us so much. She's inspired women in general, Black women in specific, people, Americans, internationally. She has done so much for the sport. She has done so much for people. And she has been so consistent. She's won championships with broken toes. She's won championships with kidney stones and things like that.
Oof.
She has the right to go ahead and say, you know what? For my own safety and for my mental well-being, I'm going to step back. And nobody should say anything about it. Because
if you've never felt severe physical pain before, I do not wish a kidney stone on just about anyone.
Exactly.
She doesn't owe anybody anything.
Right.
And that's something that's, I don't want to say is getting lost here, but we kind of put this undue expectation on people for whether it's their job, whether it's a sport, it doesn't really matter what it is. If I sign up to do something and then I decide, you know what, I've changed my mind, I fucking reserve that right.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I start a brand new job and then I wake up that morning and I'm in a blue spot and I can't shake it and I can't get my mind together and I just can't stop worrying or whatever, my anxiety is getting crazy, I'm fucking calling into work. Do whatever y'all need to do, but I'm going to do whatever I need to do to take care of me. Because at the end of the day, it's not going to be the Olympic Committee that's fucking gluing her neck back together because she lost herself because her mind is racing. They're not going to fix her. So she has the keys to her own damn Ferrari, and she's decided that she's shutting the shit down. She's putting it in the garage.
And that's fine. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
And if you're doubting her mental, toughness, she's also been the face of sexual assault issues
and
within the sport.
Oh,
exactly.
Well, but that doesn't count to the right wing.
And think of this.
Deal with it. You're not a victim. Don't be a victim.
They told her leading into the Olympics, hey, we are going to judge you differently.
Yep.
Because you are so good. So you're so good that other people might try that stuff and hurt themselves. Nobody told Usain Bolt, you're so fast that other people might pull a hamstring trying to keep up with you.
So
No one said that to Michael Phelps when he was in the pool dominating. But she's so good, we're going to judge you differently. We're not going to give you the true value of points for some of the things you do because nobody else can do them and they can hurt themselves.
They actually said that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Like they won't like her. I don't. Are they called tricks? Her maneuvers, whatever. I don't know the term for it. Moves.
They've named 2 moves after her.
Right.
Yeah. She's so good. She's still doing them, and they got moves named after her.
So the thing is, like
the Tony Hawk.
No, his is the 900, and it will always be his. It's what is it like 2 full? It's a layout double full back with like 1.5 twists or something crazy like that.
Okay. Mikey, can you do one real quick? Demonstrate.
Oh, you want to see a flip?
Yeah.
Walked right into that one big guy.
You didn't spin it. You're supposed to spin it.
Double flip. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
Fully laid out.
1.5.
I gave him the bird, all you audio listeners.
A 1.5 double inverse.
But it's like 2 backflips and like a twist and a half or something crazy like that. And no one else can do it. So because no one else can do it, she was originally getting scored very high because the difficulty on that is off the fucking charts. So now that she's suddenly they're just going to say, well, you know what? We're not going to score that what it actually should be scored because we don't really think it's safe. And they did the same thing to that black figure skater girl who was doing like the backflip on the skates.
Soraya Bonali.
Yep. And they told her, you can't do that or we're going to disqualify you because that's not safe skating. Mm-hmm. She never fell, but it wasn't safe. So they punished her for doing something that other people couldn't do.
Because she would do that backflip and land on one skate.
Yeah.
One skate.
If I can kick the other leg out,
like a leg out backwards. It was amazing.
I was like, oh, all right. You out here wilding on these ice skates.
Right. We never got a gold medal, though.
Nope. I think that would be like the finishing move, right? That's the mic drop, right?
Dude, that's a babality.
Right. As soon as I hit the backflip, that's game, right? Like we won, right? Like no, right. They just said if you do it again, you're disqualified.
Yeah.
Yeah, but your form wasn't good on the double Excalibur.
Yeah, but
it wasn't performed. The triple air salt wasn't performed as smoothly as the East German. And it's so this is like an issue with the Olympics, right? I didn't know that was the case, but you never saw that with. I want to say it was 2 Olympics or something ago where they had I think it was probably the Chinese team had these platform divers that were just like doing stuff that nobody else was even attempting doing, right? Mm-hmm. And they blew it out of the water, right? Like they and that's it. That's also judged by judges, right?
Oh, here it is. I found it. The floor biles is a double layout with a half twist. So she does 2 full black flips completely straight, and then at the very last second, she does a half twist with it, which I think is impossible and probably a sign of witchcraft.
Oh, no doubt.
She made a deal with the devil.
She's clearly Black Lives Matter, a lesbian witch.
And the biles too for a floor is a double backflip, triple twist, which is insane.
Amazing.
Oh, they even got a little what's it called going here? Maybe I'll show it.
You got audio listeners.
Who's that?
It's Time Magazine. I will post the link in our private chat and in the regular chat so people can check it out.
Check it out. Check it out.
And there we go. And then for your production notes there, Betchy. You stick that bad boy in there.
Oh, thank you so much there, Michelangelo.
But I'll put it on screen here. It's like an animated slideshow. I'll pull it up.
Oh, of Simone Biles.
Of the move.
Of the moves. Okay. So listeners, you can go click on the links in the YouTube video for that. We're showing it on screen right now. But if you're watching on the or if you're listening to the audio, obviously you can't see what we're looking at right now, but she's just going crazy. She's flipping around. She's whipping back and forth, and she's flipping around and she's twisting.
Why are you a New Jersey grandmother all of a sudden? What happened?
So, she's twisting up there.
Yeah, So the so here's one of the issues I have with the Olympics, and we might as well talk about this real quick too. Of course. Where's my of course?
Of course.
You have this part of this is that Simone Biles is being held to an expectation, and I understand part of this is legitimate. Is like, here you're going to represent the country. We want you to do your best, right? Like so I think that most people would agree with that statement, but the way that they're judging people right now, especially with the protesting, and when track and field starts here in a couple of days, and we're going to start seeing a little bit more of that as some American track and field stars are going to win medals and are going to protest during the national anthem, which I completely think is perfectly outstanding that they do. You're going to start seeing the whole conversation come back again. Trump was out there singing the other day that the U.S. women's soccer team, who lost 3-0 to Sweden, lost because they were too woke. Of course, they weren't. They weren't too woke 2 days later when they won 6-0, but they were too woke when they lost
6-1.
0-3. Yeah. So, okay, 6-1.
Sweet's like, no, wait a minute. My team got one. God damn it.
They must have played.
No, that
Sweden,
was New
right?
Zealand.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sweet. She was like, hold on. We was on the board. Fuck that.
New Zealand, the most capitalist society in the world. There you go. But what is your guys' thoughts when it comes to like, is this conversation going to go away, or is this this isn't going to end until injustice ends?
Also, too, I don't think it's going to end as long as certain political figures know that they can use it as a wedge issue.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Left or right, however you want to play it. We know that those on the right are going to use any display of protest during the Olympics as a wedge issue to rile up their base, because when you listen to what they talk about, they don't talk about actual issues to help the country. They focus on these wedge issues like protesting and stuff like that. It's not about infrastructure. It's not about Medicare for all, except to say it's socialism. And then they don't talk about the actual what their plan is. They just say this is socialism. If you like Medicare for all, you're a socialist.
Well, and then the obvious question was asked. Okay, so what's your plan?
Exactly.
And then we're still waiting on that bitch.
2 weeks, man.
Yeah, it'll be here.
He'd have it in 2 weeks.
Away. 2 weeks away.
It'll be here in 2 weeks. I want to bring that up because
2 weeks.
I had a Twitter. We had some Twitter engagement with the Dig on America Twitter today. Which is, if you want to follow us on Twitter and you're not, you can follow us on Twitter at Dig on America, DIGON America. And I just saw this also, so I'll share this with you before I share that next tweet.
Did no one catch my Total Recall reference there? I hate you all.
No. Hi, Jenna.
Oh,
sporting her Dig on America purple custom made shirt. So look at that. Get yourself. Haas, what do you say to the people? Use this to sell some of our gear, Haas. Go ahead.
There's no better display of how you should be properly wearing a Dig on America podcast t-shirt than what's on the Twitter sphere right now from Jenna.
Absolutely. All right, so moving past Jenna. So we have there was a conversation. Let me go to the beginning of it. So there was a conversation about the Olympics and Black Lives Matter, everything like that. So this one gentleman by the name of Moderate Man commented on our post and says, why can't we, and talking about the January 6th insurrection, you guys probably see this here. Why can't we say both are problematic? And he's referring to the insurrection and the protest summer. Both are problematic, embarrassing our country, not acting at its best. Why is that so hard? So we replied to that. I replied to that specifically with some examples. Not really. While violence is only a last resort, I said, look at the why. Blacks have been screaming about, and again, sorry guys, I'm having a hard time talking today. Blacks have been screaming about.
Would you like to pass the ball, Iverson?
Yeah, you could. Yeah, if you can read that, go ahead.
There you go. It says here, blacks have been screaming about unjust policing. It says, for decades, if not centuries. The Black Panthers said it. Public Enemy and Rage Against the Machine said it. Rodney King, Kaepernick, no changes. What's left?
Part
Is there
two.
more than?
Two.
Yeah.
Oh, I was reading on the feed. Okay, let's see.
What's left to do?
Holy shit!
What's
that is
left
small.
to do when you go to the principal for the 8th time to complain about the bully and they do little or nothing or blame you for inviting bullying? Soon enough, you got to punch back. MAGA perhaps felt the same way, unheard, but redlined,
Redlined.
in
I
just
spelled it
8
wrong.
weeks
Sorry.
and over false beliefs.
Yeah, it was supposed to say red. It's supposed to say red line, but I apparently forgot the D there, or I was autocorrected. Yeah, so
Yeah,
MAGA-
Dutch has no D. You all heard it here first.
I'm just Utch from now on. But what I was saying is MAGA, maybe MAGA felt the same way, and we've said this before on the show that they were unheard. You know, they were feeling, oh, the courts aren't listening to us, but they totally went to the 11s in 8 fucking weeks, and really
Right.
less than that.
Right.
And it was over made up shit, not something that there's evidence to.
Right.
So this gentleman replies to us that their case is built. He's talking about Black Lives Matter, of course. Their case is built on faulty data. Blacks are not being hunted and murdered by police. The data on this is 100% clear. The entire movement is based on myth. So obviously he's using extreme terms here, right? So I'm like, hunted. Who uses the term hunted? Last I checked, police are human. Humans are influenced by stereotypes and implicit bias. We all perceive threats based on optics, i.e., distrust or fear, not necessarily hate. Clearly, skin is a factor. You need to prove how the data is faulty. So he brings up a police shootings myth. Unarmed Black Americans don't face an epidemic. Looks like it's from USA Today. I will have to look at that particular article. I don't know what that's from. But he had some other statements as well. We'll get to what he said. But what are your thoughts on like this whole faulty data? Data is 100% clear. The movement's based on a myth thing. What?
I can guarantee you he's got a black friend. And he will be very quick to tell you all about his one black friend. Because he sounds like that guy.
How many tweets until 1350 happens?
Here's my thing.
Under 2? Over 2?
It's just my thing is this. When you look, and you could just go like this. Okay, moderate man. How many times have you been pulled over by police and been like, I hope I live through this? Or have you been, I hope I don't get a ticket? You know, How many times have you been pulled off the street and into a lineup because you fit a description? How many times have that, you know, these are things that happen frequently to blacks.
Read his comments there and then reply to them after you read them.
There is actually exhaustive data on this. More whites are shot and killed by police every year.
Oh, that one.
There's
Okay.
more fucking white people than black people. See, this is the shit that fucking frustrates me. These people act like they don't understand statistics and percentages and ratios and probability and shit.
How about
There's
addition?
more whites shot and killed by police where you're 63% of the population. But if you go statistically speaking, based on the ratio of population, 2.5 times more likely to be shot black people, brown
No,
people.
He says that, and then he gives an excuse.
Yeah. They
Go ahead
also
and-
have a
go ahead and finish.
disproportionate. Yes. You know what? Instead of calling it a disproportionate
Haas, read the whole
number-
statement.
Read it. Read it.
Read
You
the whole
read it in-
statement for the audio people.
You read it
Okay.
in your head and then answered it.
No one
Jesus,
riots. You know why no one riots?
Oh my God.
Okay, yes. As a percentage, blacks are overrepresented, but they also have a disproportionate numbers of encounters with police. It's not my data. it's widely acceptable. Let me speak on that.
There you go.
Okay. No one riots. You know why? Because when a cop shoots a white person, the wheels of justice flow. Ask that dude, Noor, that's in jail for 15 years right now when he shot that blonde-haired, blue-eyed white girl. He in jail right now.
Up in
He got
Minnesota.
Yes. Okay. Yes, as a percentage, blacks are overrepresented. True. But they also have a disproportionate numbers of encounters with police. And he's saying that as a backhanded way to say that blacks are more criminal. But what that should read is blacks and browns are over-policed. Like I've said before, if Jimmy and Johnny both cheat in English class at the same rate, but the teacher's only looking at Johnny, who the fuck is she going to catch more? So therefore, the numbers are going to look like Johnny cheats a whole fucking lot, while Jimmy cheats at the same rate.
Look, all the Johnnies are cheating. The Johnnies are always cheaters. We know that.
Come on, man. You know,
hit the last one there.
Okay. Lastly, not denying that racial bias exists in parts in parts of this country, or that America's long history is fairly awful. I'm saying that the movement is based on a false narrative and fails to address the real issues plaguing these communities.
What has
why do people want to say, "Oh yeah, racism exists, but it's your problem"? That's basically what he's trying to say. It's your problem. It's
he never said that. He only said racial bias exists.
Yeah,
but only in parts.
In parts of the country, in a long history. But then he goes to talk about America's long history is fairly awful. This guy's contradicting himself in one sentence.
Yes,
you know. Then the movement is based on a false narrative. Okay, so 9 minutes on the neck, that's a false narrative.
But he literally just said, but they also have disproportionate numbers of encounters with police. That's the narrative that you just said. Go ahead, Sweet.
Right.
I will say that this person is correct in the fact that we're not talking about the real problem, which is poverty, which has been...
But that's not the problem he's talking about, I bet.
What I'm saying, he's saying the right thing for the wrong reason with the wrong backup.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we are not talking... Correct. We are not talking about the problem that we should be talking about. We should be talking about poverty and the systemic methods used either through the state or through the community itself to hold certain minority groups back for decades, that perpetuates itself over and over and over. You know, if Haas is redlined away from and has to move and to a community where housing, you know, where the housing values are severely depressed and job opportunities are severely limited, that severely limits his children's ability to advance as far as education. Well, limited education means limited lifetime earnings, which then perpetuates itself onto Haas's grandchildren, which then perpetuates itself even further. So the reason that we talk about this at least on an economic basis, first we have to talk about it on a human basis, the human cost. Black people are dying. That should be the first thing that we're talking about. The second thing we should be talking about is what's the cost of what we're doing and what are we leaving on the table? I mean, everybody that's a capitalist should be like, yeah, we need to end racism because it's killing our economy.
It's bad for business.
It's bad for business. It's terrible for business. We're leaving $1 trillion of GDP on the table every year due to bias. $1 trillion.
$1 trillion.
Let me real quick. Let me real quick move. I'm gonna slow my pace down here to the article he cited, just to be fair, so I'm not skipping it. This is from USA Today.
Put it out real quick.
The title of the article that this gentleman posted to our Twitter account is "There is no epidemic of fatal police shootings against unarmed Black Americans." This is by Heather McDonald, opinion contributor.
Yeah, I was going to say, make sure you put that in there.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Before you read it,
I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to touch pieces of it, but go ahead.
Real quick though, I don't think the problem is that all Black people are afraid of being shot by cops. I don't think our fear of being shot by the cops is based on that. It's based on this cop can do whatever he wants to me and get away with it. And it's the and get away with it that is the problem.
It's the after effects.
And it emboldens other cops and it poisons the well for the entire police force. Because and then it never starts off with just this did not begin with the shootings, right? This didn't begin with the killings, but people have been getting roughed up and getting their fucking black eyes and chipped teeth and all that shit, and dogs sicked on them and shit like that. That shit has been happening. It's
called that the humble. It's called giving you the humble. They feel like you're being uppity.
Well, then they say, all right, you're going to go in here. And then they take you downtown Chicago. They take you in a room by yourself. They get out the phone books and the fucking ball peen hammers. And they bruise you to fuck up. And they hurt the shit out of people. And then they let them go. That's where it starts. That's the initial phase. So cops being crooked and cops doing dirty shit and being disrespectful and dangerous, that is the issue. Yeah, there might not be a murder epidemic, but there's been a shitty policing, racist element in fucking policing in this country since forever.
Yeah, and I'll summarize this article because this ties into what you just said, Mikey. This article is basically it's staging, right? So what they're doing, they're kind of doing the same thing that Moderate Man did. He's using terms like they're not hunting down blacks and murdering them. No one ever said they were. They're not going door to door and shooting people, right? But it's like I said in my
in Breonna Taylor's case, yes, the fuck they were.
In Breonna Taylor's case, that's true. But this article itself quotes all the same statistics that we're talking about. But the thesis of this article is anti-defund the police and pro improve policing. It's a case where the article does not reflect the content of the story, right? So
the headline.
So find a new article. Jenna's here real quick. So Jenna, in case you missed it, we're just going to show. I'm just going to bring you back in here to the show again.
I told her.
Here you go, Jenna. Hello. There you go. So everyone gets to
Scroll
see.
up.
There's Jenna's Big on America shirt. I'm not trying to frame it just on your boobs. I promise that's just the way that the screen
goes. I pose like Minister Farrakhan.
Yeah. I did not zoom in on that on purpose. It shortens the screen down. So before you attack me.
No, that zoom went from 75% to 180%.
Right. And real quick update on the shirts. Quintal emailed me today and said they should be going out in the coming days. So tons of mice, you'll be getting yours. Flow State has a question. I'll let Swede take that. So, or one of you guys. He says, how long have citizens been complaining about government overreach then? I'm not sure what he was replying to. Maybe we need more context.
Since the American Revolution.
5,000 years?
America?
So I think what he might be saying is because we've been complaining about government overreach for so long, let's end government. Perhaps. I don't know. What's the
it depends on how you define the state.
So yeah, I'm not sure what the premise is, but maybe give us the premise and we'll
define government overreach. What do you mean by that?
We'll define the reason why you're bringing that up. I want to.
And the one thing that we also have a problem with is the blue silence. If good apples can't weed out the bad apples,
which ones are good?
Well, if you're not willing to take out the bad apples, you are in effect encouraging it.
Exactly. Silence is complicitness.
And so, but there are people out there who have tried and they've been chastised, punished, fired.
Yep.
kicked out of the force, whatever, because they turned on their brothers and sisters in the force.
Or
what I mean is did the right thing.
Yep.
or they end up I forget which case it was. It was something. It was one of the major ones. I'll start digging. But the guy was pretty much told flat out, don't expect us to show up for your when you call for another unit. If whatever happens to you happens to you out there.
Don't expect backup when you call for it.
When you call for an extra unit, just know that we're going to say we're coming, but we're not. We're all going to be busy doing other things because you don't want to be part of the fraternity. But the fraternity's whole job is to protect the people. Like I don't understand.
No, it ain't. It's to protect the property.
Yeah,
that's the whole thing. That Supreme Court case that really showed us who the police truly are. Is they are under no obligation to assist the people.
And this is why you see how many times have we heard of a person getting shot and he's left in the street and the cops did not try to render aid at all. There's been a lot of times that happens and the cops just stand around and wait for the dude to die, bleed out, and then they'll say he died on the scene, but not one cop administers CPR or anything.
And they're protected by Good Samaritan laws.
Yep.
Right. They're not going to get a malpractice.
If you're making a honest, a good faith effort to do CPR, you're protected. And I would think as a cop, you're trained under CPR.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But that's the thing, though. If he gets up and testifies that the whole reason he needs CPR is because I bashed him upside the head with my fucking flashlight.
Dead men tell no tales, dude.
Because I thought it was lippy, but then I hit him and then he started seizing. And I'll just let this play out.
Yep.
Let me ask you a question. So what do you think? I don't know. I'm not sure how many diehard MAGA people there are on the U.S. Olympic team. There's one or two, I'm sure.
Of course.
One of them, a few of the soccer players in the past and volleyball players have come out. Lolo Jones, obviously is in the news right now because she's a big Trump person.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and Lolo Jones is so sexy too. So I was like, Lolo Jones is beautiful. I was like, I thought she was the hottest thing going for a while.
I'm just gonna, just to verify, let me look that up real quick.
But so what? Obviously,
that's disappointing.
The MAGA folks are big into America's, not a Christian nation anymore. They're becoming socialist. Trump won the election. How do you think that there were
socialists can't be Christians too?
No, that totally off script right now. I don't know where it's at. Here we go.
I'm totally off script right now.
So let's say that someone wins a gold medal, goes to the podium wearing a shirt that says Trump won.
Yeah.
And folds his arms and looks down during the national anthem.
Okay.
And points at his shirt. Instead of going instead of being like this.
Okay.
What do you think the narrative would become on the right? Would that person be a hero or would they be also vilified?
Well, he would be a hero on the right.
Absolutely a hero. It's not about respecting the flag.
No. It's about saying what they want you to say.
Yeah.
You need to be obedient and knowing your place.
Right.
Yeah.
Because hey, guess what? When LeBron James says something, it's shut up and dribble. But when Drew Brees says something, he's exercising his First Amendment.
Yeah, let him. Why aren't we listening to him? Laura Ingraham said, "Let him. Let him talk.
Let him talk."
That's the biggest.
The fact that they don't see this, they don't see their own bigotry.
I'm going to put that on the soundboard. I'm going to put that on the soundboard. Shut up and dribble. I got to get that on the soundboard.
They try to couch it in with the China within the NBA's incestuous relationship with China, as to say LeBron, shuts up when it's about China and their indiscretions, but we shouldn't listen to him when
he's not Chinese.
I'm telling you what their frame, that their, we talk about framing. This is the frame. Yeah. The NBA basically muzzles all of their players when they talk about China, because China is a cash cow for the league.
Yeah, and that's not good either. But we see that with Cuba now too. Like, why? And I'm sorry, Haas, Swede, you can speak to this. Like, Cuba is one of the reasons why Cuba has so many issues, and the left is bringing this up. But Black Lives Matter is not necessarily supporting the Cuban government, at least not the aggregate of Black Lives Matter. I'm not talking about particular individuals. I don't know, but but like Cuba has issues because they don't trade, right?
No,
like
they cannot trade.
They can't trade, right? Like there's other countries that don't trade, like North Korea and and stuff like that. But when countries don't trade and they're not maximizing their opportunity cost, then they whether it's by force or they're by their own choosing, and in the case of Cuba, it's the embargo. They cannot be successful. So for you to say Cuba's failing and it's because they're communist is totally stupid, because Cuba's not failing because they're that's not to say the Cuban regime is not corrupt, but you're adding to that by taking away their ability to, be productive and maximize their productivity and sell goods, right?
So here's what here's how the embargo
their comparative works. Opportunity costs. Am I saying that right? Sweet.
Kind of, not really.
The comparative trade advantage is what I meant. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, you get efficiencies of production possibilities, but the real issue is with the trade embargo is how it works, and it's not really a you can't trade with Cuba. It's if your ship docks in Havana or in Venezuela, because it's the same embargo, they're basically copied each other, then that ship can no longer dock at a NATO aligned port for 6 months.
Damn.
That's a long time.
So if you are a company who's shipping and you want to be able to dock your ships wherever, do you want to not dock in Havana and dock in 9,000 other ports?
Right.
Or dock in Havana and maybe a smattering of 12 other ports beyond that? I mean, capitalism tells you exactly what you have to do.
Right.
At that point.
Yeah, and the drayage companies and the container companies are not going to go for that.
Exactly.
So like they're not going to, like you would try to think of, like, I'm in logistics, right? So you try to think of ways around that. So it's like, all right, let's say I'm docked in Florida and I'm unloading containers at the port in Florida, right? So I could take a different boat, put the freight that's supposed to go to Cuba on that boat, send that boat to Cuba, the second boat to Cuba, and then the boat that actually had the cargo on it from, say, China. It's hard to go to the Florida port from China, but you understand what I'm saying. Let's say it came from Africa or something.
Merry old England,
right? So you'd avoid that maybe, but then that boat that you sent to Cuba, it's locked in now, and all I can send it to is maybe Venezuela. So that's an asset that I have, and I need to keep that asset moving and keep freight on it. Otherwise, I can't make money.
Well,
so how do I overcome
back
that?
And forth to some African nations, but the problem is the African nations aren't going to fill up the containers.
Mm-hmm.
That boat is only going to be, say, 10% filled.
Right, which means it's not worth it for me to run it.
Exactly.
So there's really no way for me, and again, this is something I do for a living. I can't even think of a way to do it unless I just want to take a loss and write it off on taxes and say, okay, well, I'm doing good. I guess you could do that.
Unless you had like a 200,000.
Well, okay, here's the thing. You can't. As an owner of the company, you have a fiduciary duty to maximize value for your shareholders. If you do that without a prime directive from your shareholders to do that, because they're saying this is the humanitarian thing we want you to do, you are violating your fiduciary duty to maximize shareholder value.
Mm-hmm. And you will get booted out.
And you will get booted, and you will end up with a big ass fine.
Although most companies who do, well, drayage doesn't really count because it's a different piece, but like most of the companies who operate on the docks are not stockholder owned companies. They're smaller, 50, 60 employee companies. Like my company, we have 200 employees. We're private.
If you're a subchapter S private company, you have a duty to the shareholders. Shareholder doesn't necessarily mean public. Shareholder means you're just you were part of the founding and you got some shares, as part of, because you contributed money. You're a shareholder. They have a fiduciary duty to them.
When you win a lottery, tons, you're not going to need Swede. You'll just buy Swede.
So for the uninitiated, explain fiduciary and fiduciary responsibilities.
When a fiduciary duty is in the best interest of. So in the case of, say, like financial advisors, their fiduciary duty to you is to only recommend products that A, fit your needs, B, fit your plan, B, or C, are suitable for you. Also, free of as many conflicts of interest as possible. So we have what's called Reg BI, which is regulation best interest, which means, like, as a broker dealer, all the things we offer have to have the same compensation plan, so that no matter what an advisor recommends, there's no difference in pay.
Right.
So you just can't use that as an influence mechanism. You can't have certain products be part of like a sales contest. You can't have, you just go on down the line of all these things that we can't have to make sure our reps can act in the best interest. And so, when you're acting in the case of shareholders, acting in the best interest means when you're making decisions, either long-term or short-term, you have to do it in such a way that you are saying, we think this is the best return on either ROR or ROI, return on revenue or return on investment.
Right.
This is why you're seeing share buybacks, because then the board just goes in and goes, our ROI on share buybacks is way more than capital investment. So what are we going to do? We have to do it this way.
And share buybacks are a pretty large issue in themselves, aren't they?
Yeah, because they don't do anything but, take stock out of the circulation, number one, so you can actually affect the liquidity of a company's stock. But B, you're not investing in capital. You're not creating a job by buying back stock. You're not buying a new factory or building a new factory. You're not putting in new robots that maybe free up some workforce to do something even more.
Or shoot free throws.
Yeah, exactly. Or investing, or taking the technology ancillary technologies that come out of that robot that was making half quarters and creating something for the good of humanity that you can then sell and actually, on down the line. So the fiduciary duty itself actually creates more problems, but it's still one of those rules that you're like, how do you drop off telling people to do what's in the best interest in such a way that you encourage then capital investment on the back end? If you can figure that out, you got a job at the SEC.
All right, I'm on it.
I'm applying tomorrow.
There are PhDs ad nauseum that cannot figure this out.
I got a blank sheet of paper here. I'll scribble something together. Hold on.
Before we get off the mailbag, two quick listener comments, both from Bill Lemon. So that one's about a week old.
What up,
the other
Bill?
one came in today. He says, so any complex art is political? ? This is from the Dig on Politics and Comics story. What about Van Gogh's Starry Night? That was a painting about hope, Bill. It's an expressionist painting, so political. He also asks, what is on Haas's shirt? He wants to know what was on your shirt you were wearing that day.
What shirt was it?
The one where you had a contest to.
Oh, dude.
Oh yeah.
That no one won. No one won the contest, but he wanted to know what was on it. And his guess was you had yourself on your shirt. Yeah.
No, that was Half Pint from G5G. That's what we want to be. School Days.
All right. So School Days. There you go, Bill. That's for you. And your
if you haven't seen School Days, slap yourself. You got to see that movie. It's a great. I cannot believe you guys.
Sorry.
I've seen School Days. It's just I haven't seen it since 90.
School Days is one of the best movies when you want to get into to talking about colorism within the Black community and how white supremacy and how the conditioning has so permeated society that even within communities of the global majority, they have stratifications based on coloration. You need to watch that and read the book Caste. Anyway,
stand on the border of Haiti and the Dominican Republic, and you can see it.
Yeah.
All righty, so let's get into our Take It Back. The dig today is going to be on private banking. I think we have a Mikey. I think we have a banner up there already. Perfect. There we go. So the dig on private banks. So I'm going to do this a little bit different today because I don't feel like talking all that much. So I am going to. Mikey had said he loves timelines. So I'm gonna bring up a few things. I'm gonna ask Sweet a couple questions about a couple things that I notated. But I do want to go through just a real quick timeline for Mikey because he loves. What was it you said about timelines? That's your jam.
Timelines are my shiz night.
They're your Suge Knight.
I can't read. You're wasting your voice. Go ahead. Read your back to your boy Phil.
So just a little bit of some timeline on banks. This is from the FDIC. Mid 1700s colonies have no banking systems. In 1782, the Bank of North America, established by the Continental Congress, becomes the first charter bank in the U.S. I'll read the story from Vox and AOC after I get through with this. The 1784, the state of New York charters the Bank of New York. In 1791, the U.S. charters the first bank of the United States, the government's first attempt at a central bank. It had a 20-year charter, which, of course, was not removed. They tried that again sometime later, the second bank in 1816, which also had a 20-year charter and was also not removed. By 1819, according to FDIC, there were more than 420 banks existing in the U.S., all of them printing banknotes and making loans. That number dropped a little bit in 1820 to 300 banks. And in 1837, with the demise of the second bank of the United States, only state chartered banks exist. During this period known as the free banking area, state chartering standards often are not very stringent, and many new banks are formed. Large numbers of them will fail. The era ends with the passage of the National Currency Act of 1863 and followed by the Panic of 1837. Swede, you could probably give us a better characterization on the Panic of 1837. Do you want to take a stab at that?
I would have to go back and reread on that.
Oh, I thought I just figured you know off the top of your head.
No.
The mid 1830s witnessed an economic boom characterized by inflation and speculation in public land sales and road and canal projects. The speculation is fueled in part by three policies: removal of federal funds from the Bank of the United States, a distribution of the federal surplus from these banks to state banks, a requirement that gold or silver be used to buy public lands, which leads to failing land sales and shortages on something called specie, SPECIE, which I don't even know what that means. The pressure on many banks increases and a lack of confidence in the state banks abounds. The resulting bank panic in 1837 causes many banks to fail over several years, and that failure is followed by a sharp depression tied to general downturn in the business cycle that lasts until 1841. I'm going to skip ahead here to the 1930s. In the Great Depression, a worldwide economic downturn hits the U.S. in 1929 and lasts until 1939. It's the longest and most severe depression in the U.S. As the depression eases into a national emergency, reaching its height between 1932 and 1933, the U.S. government establishes several agencies as a means for discharging new and emergency funds, and the FDIC is one of these agencies. President Roosevelt initiates a legislative agenda known as the New Deal for rescuing the United States from the Great Depression. This is followed by the Hawley-Smoot Tariff Act of 1930, as well as the RFC, the Reconstruction Finance Corporation. You want to take a stab at explaining what that is to the listener, Swede?
The tariffs were basically a weapon used against foreign competition to try and retain jobs within the United States. However, what happened was that the government didn't realize that, a lot of things are just, you don't produce certain things in the United States because other people just can do it better than us, either because they have natural resources that we haven't yet, built the infrastructure to exploit or whatnot. And, you have trade networks that fulfill that. Well, other governments are like, screw you, we're going to raise tariffs as well, which puts everybody in a bind. And the United States basically shut down its own economy with tariff wars.
Well,
how fun.
That sounds familiar.
Chester Tito tried that shit.
And now that I looked up 1837, if you want to know why you should never have a commodity-backed currency, 1837 is your answer.
And was that gold or silver or both back then? Okay.
And specie is, you were asking about the definition of specie. That's just coin.
Oh, okay. I didn't want to
specifically
make an
coin, not like paper notes, but
Coin.
Gold, silver coins.
Balloons.
Give me some coins, damn it.
Coins.
He said
So-
doubloons.
I'm going to read a little bit from an article on Vox. Now, this article is actually a little bit before what's going on in Congress now. AOC had a really riveting speech in front of Congress the other day, talking about people who are attacking her legislation for not really starting a public bank, but for giving the opportunity for a public option to compete with private banks. So I'm going to read a little bit about what this is, but this is from an article in October. They call it a fairer, greener financial system. I'm just going to read a couple paragraphs from this. The Public Banking Act wouldn't create options by itself, but it would foster the creation of public banks across the country by providing them a pathway to getting started, establishing an infrastructure for liquidity and credit faculties for them via the Federal Reserve, and setting up federal guidelines for them to be regulated. Essentially, this legislation would make it easier for public banks to exist, and it would give them grant money to get started. The basic idea is to make it possible for state and local governments, local businesses, and people to do business with public banks, which theoretically would be more motivated to do public good and invest in their communities than private institutions, which are out for profit. One public bank exists in North Dakota, which is very successful, and there's a growing movement to create more across the country. California recently passed a law allowing cities and counties to create and sponsor public banks. Economic stability, and this is a quote from Rashida Tlaib, economic stability is really truly tied with access to this type of banking. It's to try to create stable neighborhoods and communities. The proposal lands in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has shed light on many inefficiencies in the American system, including banking. For example, the Paycheck Protection Program used the regular banking system as an intermediary, which ultimately meant that bigger businesses and those with pre-existing relationships with banks were prioritized over others. Small businesses missed out, with many owners saying they were denied loans for even a few $1,000s. And the discrepancy hit Black-owned businesses particularly hard. The intent of the proposal is to guarantee equitable recovery by providing an alternative to Wall Street banks for regular, ordinary people. Haas, you were about to say something?
I said, the old saying goes, and I forget who said it. He said, if America gets a cold, Black Americans get the flu. If America gets the flu, Black Americans get pneumonia, or something to that effect. And when you look at when economic downturns occur, like when the recession in 2006, 7, etc. 2000. Yeah, it started like 2006, 2007. Unemployment was here, but Black unemployment was here. And, when a Black person is unemployed for an average of 2 times longer than a white person is unemployed, even if they have the same educational background, etc. So, like when you said it disproportionately impacted, Blacks, that just is another reconfirmation of that theory of when things go wrong in the country, or when things are happening, or when measures are being brought up, who is it going to hurt worse than first? And usually when you see these things happen, especially negative things that happen within the country, you see that disproportionately, marginalized communities are hurt worst and first by that downturn, like COVID, even, which is a function of a bunch of things that
I think I found who it was.
While you look that up, I'm going to ask Swede a couple of questions here. So,
Swede, they keep calling me about my car's extended warranty, and I just want
to. It's a telemarketing spam call.
I have a feeling that if I disappeared to an island like Amelia Earhart did, that somehow my cell phone would still ring, and they would still be calling about my car's extended warranty.
Yeah,
I think it was Carter G. Woodson.
Okay,
I think
Carter G. Woodson, is that a serial killer?
You're talking about one of the greatest inventors in Black history, and
here we go.
Go ahead.
All right, so I have a quote here from Adam Smith, and this is from his book, The Wealth of Nations. It's basically referring to the colonial land banks and the Puritan banks of the 1700s, which were basically private banks. The quote is this, and I'd like to get Swede's thought on it. The government of Pennsylvania, without amassing any treasure, invented a method of lending what is equivalent to money. Because you got to remember that was before the U.S. had its own money, to the equivalent of money to its subjects by advancing to private people at interest paper bills of credit. It raised a moderate revenue, which went a considerable way towards defraying the whole ordinary expense of that government. Also, greenbacks, are another good example of this. I think right before the Civil War with Abraham Lincoln. So, speak to us your thoughts on that quote as it relates to how public banks would help with access and with overall ethics of profits from banking in the United States.
The problem with the 1700s is you have to realize that they were still very racially motivated. They were also very community motivated in how those enterprises were set up. And they were set up in such a way and very decentralized in such a way where you could look at it and it's just like any weed that enters into a yard that hasn't been planted yet. It's going to thrive and it's going to do things. And you're going to all of a sudden think, wow, this is great. We should have more of it, until you have a yard full of weeds. What happens is you get the system that eventually sprang out of that, which is large conglomerate banks, which are very motivated against immigrant communities, minority communities, and that are very limited as far as their access is concerned to at least these smaller business plans.
Let me stop you right there real quick. I don't mean to do this, but you just touched on an important point.
Ooh.
When you have these conversations with right-wing minded people, what you just said there about how they are, the way that they handle themselves towards minorities and minority communities and immigrants. Put something tangible on that with an example, because all they're going to say is that's a myth and that doesn't happen.
Well, for a long time, Irish people couldn't bank. For a long time, Italians couldn't bank in New York. For a long time, just redlining is one of the prime examples towards the Black community. Segregation and basically up until the Fair Housing Act, I believe that was the late 70s, you could discriminate, quietly on home loans towards minority groups.
I think even then you still could, because the enforcement was pretty toothless.
Yeah, the enforcement until I believe 1978 was completely toothless.
Right.
I saw that show Them on HBO or Amazon.
So you have a situation in which you have these long-standing prejudices of the banking community, and there are long stories of Black families having way better credit risk than a white couple. But the white couple gets the good rate. The Black couple gets the rate that makes them go, well, we can't afford this, so we won't.
If they get a rate at all.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and between the 1964 and 1978, they would get a rate, but it would be a rate that would force them to say, no, we can't afford that. So the bank is basically just giving them an FU.
Yeah, that's like that reminds me of if you've seen Harlem Nights, when Sugar Ray went to bail out the people that got busted in his speakeasy, and the guy was like, "Yeah, just tell him how much it'll cost. He'll go running out of here." And it's kind of the same thing, except he didn't go running out. He said, "Okay." He started taking out bands and paid all of their bail. That was great.
I think one of the places where this would make a big difference is in the subprime market, because I used to sell at a subprime car lot in Maywood. For those of you who don't know where Maywood is, it's a suburb of Chicago. Isn't it adjacent to Chicago? Does it touch Chicago, or is it there's maybe a town in the middle?
Maywood, and then there's Oak Park.
Oh, okay,
Oak Park is there.
Right. But it's very close to Chicago.
Right.
And would you agree it's pretty much a Black community, correct?
Now, it didn't used to be.
No, none of them used to be. That was before white flight. It was a white town back in the 40s.
40s, 50s, and 60s even.
Yeah. So, just like South Holland and, Bellwood, all those towns were white towns, where Chicago was where most of the immigrants and the people of color lived. And then it started moving out. And as they started moving out, the white people said, oh, and they sold their house and they moved out. And then the taxes went down, and then schools went to crap because there was no funding. And we all know that story. Yep. So anyway, I worked at Maywood, and something I can tell you for sure is that, like, a lot of the customers that we had, the African-American customers that we had specifically, and the Latinos too, but like I said, most of our customers were Black, just based on the demographics. And as a subprime dealer, a lot of people walked in kind of just assuming that they were going to need help buying a car, right? And we had a pretty diverse sales staff there, half white, I'd say half Black. But obviously, we're always trying to maximize the amount of points that we would add to their loan, right? So let's say we were buying the loan for 6%. We could sell it for as much as 9%, because you want to add points to that, and that helps the back end. But what a lot of there were other banks that would give you more leeway on that and say, oh, you can make up to 4 points, or you can make up to, some banks would say 2 points. But what I found a lot of times is, like, customers who were local, they would assume that they had bad credit. They'd come in and maybe they were like a 680, which is pretty halfway decent, and probably deserving of like if you were going to be competitive about it, you might get a 7% rate with a 680, right, on a used car. I was a used car lot, so I can't speak to the new. You pretty much were able to just add the maximum amount of points every time and then make it look like you were helping them out. But how would a public bank help with these folks to like sort of, or would it even, with spreading the knowledge that, hey, you know, maybe you're not actually in need of subprime help and you can walk into a dealership in Naperville and buy a car the same as you could anywhere else?
So the public bank has two main factors. One, we already see in the credit union system, but it's not for profit. You take the profit motive out. Now, the credit union still has a quote unquote profit motive because it wants to keep the lights on and keeps the door open. However, if you're a division of the Fed who can print its own money, you don't need a profit. You can be like the Postal Service and say, why does the Postal Service need to make profit? It is a public service. It is a public good. What is the point of, you know, making money off of the postal system itself? Now, we obviously can charge things so that we don't have to fund it all through the tax back end system, but that would influence how customers are treated for their rates. You're not trying to fee people to death. You're not trying to, you know, put a rate at such a level that you're going to make money on. You can actually give people, say, an actual risk reward rate on what their credit is, or even give them a break. Now, the ruling itself makes sure that the same regulations that the private banks are under, the public is under. So the public can't go out and do anything wonky that completely underbids the private sector. If the private sector is demanding of whatever, you know, whoever comes in to borrow that, you know, 5% is what this car loan needs to be, that's what you're going to get through a Fed account. However, you're not going to get the games that the subprime side gives.
Would you say that that's also like, would you make an exception for like GM financing GM cars at like 0%? Because I can't, that would still be a thing, right?
That would still be a thing. And new cars I mean, that's for new cars. And so you would be able to go to the Fed account and be like, GM is 0%. So are they. So you can just do it through the Fed rather than through GM.
So the Fed would have to match the 0% rate from GM.
Either they would have to, or
how would they do that?
Or be a quarter point.
Okay, how would they? I'm curious. How would they do that? Because they're not, like, usually with the car dealership, with the dealer-based financing, you're taking the financing in lieu of, say, a rebate. Generally speaking, not always, but like you're saying, oh, I can get $3,000 off the car or 0.9% financing. So would the Fed get that rebate? How would that work?
Or the Fed, you get the rebate and you get the loan out of the Fed. And you just say, fuck the profit motive to hell and back, and people get a better deal. And the nice thing is it doesn't matter how much you make or what your name is or what color you are. That deal is open to everyone. Not because you have a relationship at a bank or anything like that.
Okay.
This is what it would look like if you truly remove the profit motive.
Okay. I'm trying to wrap my head around that, like, because like I think that public banking would be a really good thing, though I'm struggling with that part of what you said, because to me it's like Nissan Finance, for example, they don't take on any loans outside of Nissan cars. So to me, they sort of kind of have a right to finance their own item. It seems logical to me, at least, that they can finance their own item at a lower rate than an outside source, regardless if that's public or private.
How is the Nissan dealership going to know when you walk in and write a check where the money came from?
Well, you have to allocate the financing through a Nissan. You can't just go to Nissan Finance yourself. It has to be done through the authorized dealership.
Okay, but if I go to the public bank and go, I'm going to go over here and buy a new Altima, It's $26,000. There's a rebate down to 23.
Right.
And I get a loan for 23. Here you go. Walk over,
Sure.
and the public bank will be like, we're going to make the check out to the Nissan dealership, so you
Right.
can't just fuck off with it.
Right.
Okay, there you go.
But are they going to match that rate that Nissan has, though, too? See, that's the part where I think we're at a disconnect.
Sure, why not?
Well, how?
What do you mean how? The public option can charge whatever they want. They're under no obligation to charge anything on anything. They don't have a profit motive. They don't have a spread to beat. The Fed is the bank.
Right. But you have to have a rate, right? Otherwise, you just have a 0% rate on everything, and that's not the way that.
Well,
so, like,
okay.
let me.
But if the world is charging 1.9, the Fed couldn't undercut. You and I are talking in a world where everything's 0%, which is kind of the world we're living in today. But let's say, the Fed raises overnight rate to 1% here coming up, and new cars cost you 2.9% financing, and that's kind of the general across the board. The federal bank, the way the law is written, can't just walk in and undercut. They have to be quote unquote competitive.
Okay, that clears it a little bit. Let me give
you a better example of how this works with a different area of it. So the OCC walks into a private bank and says you can only give 50% loan to value on farmland. So the officer, the comptroller of the currency is telling a private bank you can only go up to 50% loan to value on farmland. The public bank can only go up to 50% on farmland too. That they're under the same umbrella of regulation that way. So if whatever's being charged out, the public option can't be
OCC,
like, oh, we'll lend you up to 75%.
Is OCC like the comptroller's office or something like that?
The comptroller of the currency.
Okay, I wasn't familiar with that app.
They're the ones that basically tell banks what they can and can't do.
All right. I'm going to read to you. These are some statements from public banking from Richard Wolff, who I think is like your uncle. He says, public banks are a public service. They hold private banks to a standard, not beholden to stockholders. Profit goes to instead of going to stockholders, it can go, for example, using the Bank of North Dakota as an example, the income from the loans and everything go into lowering taxes within that community. They can make loans for what society needs, like affordable housing and schooling, versus $1 million homes and stuff like that. Would you more or less agree with all of those points? And is there anything that's left out on that?
All of that's true. And like one thing that we're facing right now in the housing market, which is absolutely insane. Like where I live, houses are on the market for 4 hours. It's just crazy. It's probably the same in a lot of areas around the country. But that's the only thing that's coming up for sale is between $250,000 and $500,000. No one who just graduated, almost no one who just graduated from college or is buying their first home can walk into a $250,000 mortgage.
Unless they are
unless you're already
There it is.
Unless
you, Miss, I got Lucky Day Lotto on my side.
Here's to you, Mr. I walked out of college with a job at Trump Corporation.
Yeah, exactly. Or they're 35 years old and have been saving for the last, 13 years, for their down payment. And they finally got that 50 grand saved up so they can get that 20% down payment. What you're going to do is you're going to make financing attractive enough for home builders to no longer need to build 2,400 square foot, $350,000 homes that only second and third time home buyers who are upgrading from previous homes to get into. Right now, we have gone from a median new home square footage of 1,600 square feet 40 years ago to 2,400 square feet today. And the reason that is because there's zero margin, even with borrowing costs where they are, on the 1,600 square foot house. If you put out investment, through public banks in that particular area, you're going to be able to build a house that way, or at least condos or medium to higher density housing, where people are either going to be able to have some ownership stake in it, or some level of communal living where you're actually going to have a sense of ownership and be able to use that ownership to maybe then go buy a house beyond that. It's going to be able to do a lot more for people that the traditional bank is going to overlook because you can't make any money on that person. And you're also going to have people, like right now, the biggest thing that people get nickeled and dimed to death is with the $15 overdraft or the $20. You don't have enough money. So what we're going to do is we're going to take more money out of your account so you have even less money, and then we can charge you again next month when you don't have enough money for us to.
I think Bank of America made like $50 billion on that during COVID.
Yeah,
like ATM fees too.
ATM fees and everything else that goes on in this private banking sector that is the cost of doing business to the rich or doesn't even affect the rich. I mean, if you have a $25,000 in the bank, you don't have any fees.
Right.
I mean, typically.
Yeah, that's disproportionate. Absolutely. And I think it's because there's
a word for that. It's called a regressive.
Yes.
Right. And these banks, I think the biggest idea to me is two things. You don't need billionaire CEOs, right, who make 7,000 times as much as a teller, and the idea at least is that the public bank would reinvest in the community rather than extract from the community, maybe for lack of a better term. Is that a fair characterization?
The CEOs will be the board of governors, who are already wealthy beyond you or I that will ever do, but they're in a public servant role.
I'm very rich. How dare you say that right now? How dare you say that on the air that I am not rich when everyone knows I am.
Rich in character doesn't mean rich.
Just because you are a character, my dear.
It doesn't mean you have character.
Right. Winston Wolfe.
But essentially when the board of governors becomes the CEO, you no longer have this person that you have to give $300 million to entice them to stay so that they can tell you how to generate fees more on consolidation loans.
Why do private banks like Wells Fargo specifically? Why do they? 'Cause this is something that's never made sense to me. Why do they push so hard for people to have more account? Like I have 2 bank accounts, savings and checking, right? And the idea is pretty logical. One's to save, right? For the vacation, everything. Melissa and I have a joint account. We both have our individual checking accounts. So, but like I've seen documentaries on like Wells Fargo and Citibank, which by the way has evolved from the very first central bank of the United States. That's Citibank today. But like, why does Wells Fargo, like I've seen these documentaries where they're getting people, like the bank employees are calling I have to sign up 14 accounts today, so they're getting their family members have 3-4 accounts. But if you're just like, the way that it works to me is like, that I understand is like the amount of money that you have in the bank allows the bank to, times that by a multiplier and give that much out in loans. They have to keep so much in there. But if you have 14 accounts that have $100 or one account with $1,400, what's the advantage? Why do they push for these additional accounts?
Well, there's 2 possible answers to that. One is minimum account fees.
And I have a guess.
The other
What's your guess, Mikey?
Is perverse incentives to open up accounts so that you have $1,400 accounts to find new customers.
And
the
also,
only problem is the incentive is to open accounts, not actually AUM, assets under management.
Mm-hmm.
and I was going to guess that perhaps it is if they spread their little bit of peon money throughout all these other accounts, there's a greater risk of them overdrafting one of those accounts.
There's that, and then there's the low money account balance fees.
Yeah. So if you only keep $50 in that account, then you spend that $50, and then you try to do it again, and now you overdraft the account. Bing, gotcha, bitch.
Hey, Mikey.
Or you don't have your minimum.
Hey, Mikey.
I've got something for you.
An overdraft fee.
There's a bank that I will no longer ever bank with as long as I live, because I literally had to go in and talk to the manager at least 3 or 4 times because they kept overdrafting my account with not a lot of money, but like $150 or something like that. Like, I know there's money in this account, but I also see that I have an overdraft on here. Can you explain that to me? Oh, it looks like there's a clerical error, sir. I'm so sorry. I'm like, all right, bro. That's one. Mm-hmm. And the shit just kept happening. I'm like, give me my money now. Now. And I'm like, so what happens if I don't come in and argue with you every time? So if I don't come in, if I don't come in here and argue with you, then I don't get it. And then you just
keep
the money.
Insurance companies, right? When they don't cover your medical bill and they just hope you're going to pay it.
Yeah.
And it was a covered expense. It was a covered expense, but clerical error. We're not going to cover your wellness visit.
It didn't get coded correctly. It didn't get coded correctly.
Oh, we had the new guy, Jeremy, was probably handling your account. Like, handling what? Why is he handling my account? Leave the shit there. It's $150 in there. Leave it alone. Why do I have to come in here and argue about $35 every time for no damn? You know what? Take that shit out right now. Give me that $150. I'll go down the street. You good? Cash me out. Just cash me out.
So as we close off on this, because we'll get to the humidor, what I'd like to do is this. I've said enough. I do want to say one thing at the end, but Haas, your final thoughts, Mikey, and then we'll close with Swede.
Well, I mean, banking is as banking does, and I wish I knew as much as Swede so that I could, navigate that whole swamp better. But I mean, there's so much there that this is why we have to teach financial literacy. This is why we have to teach credit. This is why we have to teach all of these things to our kids, and it's not taught in school. They don't teach financial literacy in school. They'll teach you accounting, but it's not necessarily financial literacy. They don't teach you about how the banking system works and how they nickel and dime you, and how points work on an auto loan, and how to tell the dealership to fuck off with your points, and things like that. So it's all about education. And, unfortunately, when you're a group of people in survival mode, you don't have time to teach that stuff. Because
Haas, why is one of your arms 3 times the size of the other?
I'm kind of sitting on an angle right now. I thought I'd try a new angle.
You know what? You're right. You know what?
I call this blue steel right here. This is this is Magnum.
Punch. This
is Magnum right here. This is Magnum, and this right here is blue steel.
That's PI.
Blue steel, man. That'll stop an what are those things called?
A locomotive?
No, the throwing stars.
A shuriken?
Yeah, shuriken.
Mikey.
So those are my thoughts on it. Is all the stuff we talked about today. It's all about education. We got to educate ourselves, and we got to educate posterity.
Tell us why you want private banks, Michelangelo.
Sweet, I have a thing that I say on this show quite often, and I'm going to get it on a T-shirt here soon.
When can we tax the churches?
Fuck you, Dutch.
Now can we tax the church, Sweet?
You know what? I'm totally going to make that shirt.
All right,
I'm
he's
totally
gone. Let's
making
talk
it
about
for
him.
I got a guy.
I'm totally going to make that shirt for you. I in fact, I'll get it up there by tomorrow, 100%.
In our merch store, you definitely got to have the Mikey edition.
I'm not giving it away though. It's the Mikey shirt. If you guys want it, you got to buy it at full fucking price now.
And it's just got me to. Now can I tax the shirt? Just a shrug. I know we're talking about like bank, but taxation, somewhat about. How beneficial do you think taxing the church would be for the average American?
Depends on how you view taxation. Taxation under modern monetary theory is not a system of revenue to pay for government programs. Taxation is a way to control money supply and velocity. So essentially the answer would be very little if viewed in that sense. If viewed through where that money would be taken from and go to in a way that is spent and how that is spent, you would probably see a tripling to quadrupling the amount of effectiveness of each dollar spent towards actually helping the less fortunate.
Thank you.
Churches per dollar, I mean, only like 10 cents actually makes it to the needy. 5 to 10 cents.
Mm-hmm.
The rest goes to building, salaries, the new organ, things like that. And churches have a historically terrible reputation when it comes to actually spending money on the community itself. They do the bare minimum.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's generally. I think it's fair to say most churches. There are some that are not that way, but I think I'd agree with the characterization that it is by far the overwhelming majority.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
All right, Swede, your closing argument on public option.
The public option should be available for a lot of things, health insurance being one. If we're not going to go Medicare for all, we should at least have a public option. But banking is another one, because banking has historically, and I get why minorities distrust the banking system. It's the same reason that they distrust some of the medical system, because they've been experimented on. Yeah, they've been treated as guinea pigs. They've been treated as, I'm just going to say it, subhuman. They've been treated as, property in so many different ways, in so many different facets of their life, and in so many different sectors. And banking is no different. Banking has been a way for the white supremacist community to hold down the Black community, the Native American community, the Hispanic community, for centuries, and at least the last few decades. It has gotten somewhat better, but somewhat better isn't good enough. And the public option gives us a place that we can go where at least we can, as we the people, can have a direct influence on how it's managed through elected officials, through the democratic process that we can have. It's not perfect, but God damn it, we can't let perfect be the enemy of good enough.
Perfect is the enemy of done.
Or at least progress, and saying, okay, it's not perfect, but we can tweak it. Or, you know what I mean?
Exactly. And if we can't get this done, I don't know what we can actually get done. The reconciliation bill needs to get passed. Schumer has come out and said that, it's the goal of the Senate to get both at least on the table before the August recess. If he can do that, Biden's presidency from here on out can go on cruise control, and it's a success. Period, exclamation point.
Won't Trump just reverse it all the first day in office?
Shut up.
August 17th.
Like
August
in 2
17th.
weeks. Yeah. So it'll go
try
through
to be
the
funny,
16th.
but you give me a fucking horror story like that.
Well, the bill will pass on the 16th. Trump, remember, ticks back over on the 17th. So
Oh yeah.
we're going to end the bill. It's not going through.
Is
Fuck
that
around
the,
with me.
is that the
There's gonna be
cue thing?
consequences and repercussions.
All right. So here's why I support this more so than anything else. And there's a reason why I wanted to go last. Because it helps. It helps small businesses, who you guys all know that I am a fan of.
You're a stan.
And particularly minority-owned small businesses and women-owned small businesses, because you won't get these sweetheart deals that your giants like Walmart and Amazon and IBM and Google get, right, from lenders. So I also will say this: I've been spending the last 3 to 4 weeks doing nothing but researching and listening to debates and reading policy on minimum wage. Nothing but hours and hours and hours of listening to dissenting opinions on this. And I have decided,
Mikey was right.
I do not at all support a $15 minimum wage. No, I'm just kidding. I have decided that I am going to change my position on this to a degree. Okay.
All right.
I still am unconvinced that a 16-year-old deserves the same pay as a 25-year-old. With that being said, I also believe that $15 should be $18 based on the research that I've looked at. Why do I say that number? Because that's basically $36,000 a year, and that's far enough above the poverty line, especially in a 2-income house where you're at $70,000, right? $72,000 with 2 people in the house if they're both making that for a 2-income house, right? So I actually am going to advocate for an $18 an hour minimum wage, not to try to be better, but all the research that I've looked at says that that's
always upstate
closer.
Yeah, there it is.
Well,
classic Dutch.
I've seen arguments that say $26, $27 an hour because, correct me if I'm wrong, Swede, but if that's where it would be if it had kept with inflation, is that not correct?
No, it's if 1968 to today, if it had kept pace with productivity, which is far and above inflation,
right?
It would be $21.17.
21. Okay, I thought it was 26. Where did I get the 26 from? Because I'm pretty sure that was a real number. Was that the?
Some people have given out productivity numbers that would throw it up into the 26 range, but those are highly disputed.
Okay.
Those are kind of singular outliers of people, and there's probably only 1 or 2 of those out there. Most people are in the 21 to say $24 range. 21.16 is like the one that everybody goes, yeah, at least I can see that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was wrong.
Hey,
there you go.
Hey,
Mikey,
that's
go
real
fuck
big.
yourself.
And the reason
That's real big of you. That's real big of
Can you
you.
say that again? Can you say that one more time?
Yeah. Hold on. Are you ready?
Hold on, wait.
Hold
Let me get you. Hold on.
Get my good ear over here.
You're gonna love my nuts.
I was wrong.
Wow.
Hey, no, we're gloating, but still, homie came back. He did some research and he changed his mind on air. So
now let me say this though.
Shout out.
So I
fuck it up. He's about to fuck it up.
But let me say this though. I do. So I would challenge you. I'm going to challenge you guys. Try because I still hold on to my thought that, see, and here's why. Part of the reason why I made this decision, because I care about people, right? And like I look at all of the places that small businesses, are at disadvantages compared to larger businesses, and nobody disputes that those things are real, right? Like you have to pay per square foot. Small businesses pay more for their electric bill and all their utilities than large businesses do. Almost across the board. Obviously, geographically, it might be different. Like somebody in LA is going to pay higher than Oklahoma or something like that. So that was where it was based at. But human beings should not be the last thing that we raise the price on. They should be the first thing that we raise the price on. If that makes sense, as a we're talking about like human capital, commodities, that sort of thing, right? Like I would rather see the person make more first before the landlord or the electric company or the taxes and that sort of stuff go up. I still think that we need to come up with something to find a way to have smaller businesses get some sort of tax break, and maybe find a way to help them with things like utilities and overhead costs and stuff like that, and maybe come up with programs to help them hire, maybe subsidize them for hiring extra labor, something of that nature that we're not doing for IBM or for Amazon, right? So just throwing that out there, because if you don't do it, you're a monster. But just throwing that out there because it doesn't make me not care about the small business. And like the guy's got 13, 14 employees. But I do agree that we should probably be 15, 18 or more dollars an hour as a starting rate for, 18 years or older people who are in the workforce. So
there it is.
Well, I told you that. Still don't think that I'm not sure that a 15-year-old, that part of the argument is not over yet. And I think it's a completely different argument. Right. So,
we're going to fight.
No, but
he was almost there. Almost.
You understand where I'm coming from now, though, right? Like, so, but with that being said, Mikey, I believe you have music that you need to play.
Welcome to the Humidor with Big Haas. Find out what Haas is puffing and drinking tonight. If you try his suggestion and you die, that is natural selection. And the DOA podcast is not responsible for you being weak fucking sauce. So now, the one, the only, Big Haas.
I was vibing out.
What are you drinking, Spookin'?
Man.
Uh-oh. I see a tragedy over there. What happened? Oh, you fucked it up.
You remember when I told you at the beginning of the show, I was like, oh, man, this is looking bad from the cut. Look at this shit. Look at that. You see that?
Your shit is unraveling, son.
Look at that.
It's flaking, son.
Dude.
Oh, you cut the shit out of it. Damn.
I didn't. It wasn't the cut.
Oh, the cigar came up.
It's not a good cigar, man.
Damn.
It's not a good cigar.
What's the over-under, Dutch, on this being the lowest rated cigar?
Look at that. I mean, I'm still going to smoke it.
All right. What you smoking, though? Tell us all about it.
This is the Selecto Maduro by Villager Cigars. It's a... Man,
all right, that's the end of the Humidor for the day.
It's a Churchill. Well, it was a Churchill.
It's about as decomposed as the real Churchill.
And look at that. Look at this.
This is a mess.
It's the rapper's Mexican San Andres.
That's like the rapper's Snow or Positive K.
The filler and binder are from Dutch.
God damn it.
I am not berating my country by saying it for this cigar. Fuck you. It's from a country that starts with N. I'm not saying it. I'm not doing it for that cigar.
Like,
yo, that shit is abominable.
Like, it's the principalities that's keeping me smoking this cigar. I mean, but you know something?
He's trying to push it back together.
I'm trying to hold it together and shit.
Throw some honey on that bitch.
Oh,
dude,
put some maple syrup on.
I mean, okay, so it was a Churchill. No, actually, it was a Corona. It was long. It was about 6 inch long and about 52. But as you can see, it's falling apart. I did a V cut on it, and the cap. I mean, the cap popped off. I mean, man.
You got a Clint Eastwood over there.
Dude, this is a any which way you can, or
for two leaves.
It's the fistful of dollars, or a few dollars more.
2 leaves more. A fistful of leaves. That's what that shit is.
I mean, before it really started going real bad, it was just passable. I mean, it's not a great cigar. It's not a great cigar, and I've been really lucky. And,
what's the name of this bad cigar again?
Selecto Maduro by Villager.
All right, so avoid that one. Is there any redeeming quality
to it?
It's
a pretty good. No.
All right, so it's a bad marriage. Let me guide you through this.
I'm just gonna say, it's my hope that not all the cigars from this Vitola and this blend do this, but
does it taste good?
No, it's all right.
Okay,
it's all right. But it's got some earth. It's got a little bit of sweetness.
Don't give it a platform, then, if it's that bad.
It's a 1.5 2-leaf cigar.
Well, I'm happy. I'm happy that this, because we've been on the show on the air for 4 years now.
Yeah.
Right. Almost 4 years. It'll be 4 years in October, and this is like the second or third bad cigar you've had, so it's refreshing.
Yeah. It's refreshing for you because you ain't smoking a shit ass cigar.
I think we have a question. We have a question though.
Yes.
Suit number 1.
I have no notes on this. This is new for me. I'm wondering, would you say that the construction of the cigar is based on the leaf, or maybe it's based on the craftsmanship of the company?
It's the same thing. I think that there are times where there's a bad batch.
That's a great show.
The Star Wars show.
That's a great show on Disney Plus.
But sometimes there's a bad batch of cigars, and maybe one of the rollers have just broke up with their partner, and or something like that, or something happened.
God damn it, Vanessa! You've ruined another cigar.
Or something happened in the aging process where these cigars were stored and the humidity got off, or
sounds like a conspiracy.
Something happened. So I would try this cigar again because I've had bad cigars or cigars that weren't the greatest, and then I had another one and it was fine. And this is more of a construction thing and an overall flavor. I mean, it's supposed to be a medium full. It's got some earth. It's got some spice. There's a hint of sweetness when I paired it with the Balvenie Caribbean cask Scotch whiskey that's aged in rum, finished in rum barrels, rum casks.
Perhaps you should pair it with a hefty trash bag.
I'm about to pair it right into the trash. I'm not smoking. I might have to stay up and smoke another cigar just to get this bad taste, just to get this one out of my mouth.
What's your leaf rating on it? You said 1 to 2. I want an exact.
I'll give it 1.75.
All right, 1.75.
Yeah, and I know I'll do it without prejudice. That means I guess I could try this cigar again. If I did it with prejudice, that means I think that in legal terms that means you can't try it again. You know what I mean? This is my first time ever having that. I've had other cigars from this cigar brand, Villager, that were pretty good and surprisingly good. And that was my hope, was to be able to come on and say, hey, here's another great cigar for people on a budget. If you're looking for a good everyday smoke, or if you're smoking on a budget, here's one you can have, because you can get a 5-pack for like $20. You know what I mean?
Seems like you're getting what you paid for.
So you're better off. You're better off
Sometimes-
smoking the $20 bill.
Yeah, I was gonna smoke a different cigar, but I was like, man, this cigar is so special. And it was so hard for me to find that I bought two, and I even told my wife how much they cost. And I said, but they're this good, and I'm not gonna do it. I can't smoke that. Maybe a Christmas episode or something.
Well, maybe tell us about the drink pairing, if it's the only redeeming.
Well,
part
the
of the night.
drink pairing, when I took a sip of the Balvenie, little bit of sweetness came out and everything, but the aesthetic of the cigar was so off-putting that it detracts from everything. It's hard to enjoy the profile of a cigar when the aesthetic of the cigar is so bad. So you just find yourself looking at that, and you can't even really concentrate on pulling the
I'm
nuances.
smoking the same cigar. It's much more delicious for me than it is for you.
What the hell is happening?
Here we go. See, he got to still. See, Dutch man, you always appropriating, man.
I can't have nothing.
Damn, black folks can't have shit.
Scrooge McDuck is not black.
That shit just went over his head, Mikey.
Yep. Smash into the wall behind him.
I had this one pulled up the whole show, and I totally forgot because it's a banking show, right? And there's cigars, so perfect photo. Well,
so
I'm not Irish, Swede.
This is a rare, low ranking. If I come across another one, I'll
I'm Scottish
and see what's up with it. You know, maybe it was something. Maybe I'll do a punch instead of a V cut, and if that helps the cap, maybe that'll help everything else.
Yeah, do a punch, because if not, the entire cigar will fall apart into pieces.
Yeah, and you know the bad thing is I had a cigar earlier today that I hadn't smoked ever, and I was like, this is a real good cigar. And I wish I had reversed it. I wish I had, because I picked this cigar up first earlier today. And I was like, I'll probably smoke this one. And then I said, no, I want to try this one. And I smoked that one earlier. And I wish that I had. What they call this? Well, if this was an STD, what would you call it?
Leprosy.
I call it grayscale.
You got the fucking stone skin from fucking Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I'm not even going to save the band on this one right now. Wait a minute, what is Utah saying?
So Utah, I was just about to say, Utah, the hairs you're splitting right now. Okay, so I said Scrooge McDuck is not black. He said, well, why not? Nothing says he's white. And I'm like, but he's Scottish. So he says black Scottish people are a racial or ethnic group of Scottish who identify as and are perceived to be black people. Utah, that may be true. But if you really think that the Disney creators created him off of a black Swedish person in the 1960s, then good for you. Because there's no way.
How are you perceived to be
way.
black? How are you perceived to be black? I don't understand that. I just and are perceived to
You're
be black
talking
people?
about his comment, not mine, right? Okay.
Yeah. I'm saying, how are you?
Hey, Dutch, you took the bait.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know that he's fucking around, but I'm like,
got your ass.
But then he kept going down the rabbit hole, down and down and down.
No, you swallowed that hook, homie. You swallowed that hook.
Pause.
Don't make me play the victim here. I'm going to play the victim. Okay.
Hey, as long as you don't slowly put your microphone down and pass out like that Karen did in the store.
Oh my God, the Karen videos, the Karen videos lately have been unreal.
I think we should have a Karen episode. The dig on
let's
America,
do
the
that.
dig on Karens, and I think we should have X on.
Okay, so let's do a Karen. I'll need some time to cut up like 20. You have like 20 videos ready to go, but we can literally do
Karen stories.
Yeah. That we totally have you guys seen that one? I had one where I brought in I actually got the sound clip for it. I haven't put on this. I don't think I put it on the soundboard yet. Where the guy goes, he walks up to the black guy in the Walmart and he goes, You want to see my back kick?
Oh, jeez.
Have you seen that one?
No.
You got, oh my God, that one is fucking hilarious, dude. The guy, like, he's like, it's like total Cobra Kai. He's just walking, like, he's doing his kicks and stuff. And like, I hate that they think black people beat up white people. Come on, you want to see my back kick? And the guy's like, I'm just here to buy a Minecraft or something like that. Like, go away from me. But,
Oh, I know what you're talking
we'll,
about now.
Yeah, we'll do a fucking Karen episode. So, all right, Swede, before we leave, and then when we get done, I got to go over something with the guys here. But Swede, before we go, you want to play Prank One, Marry One, Snap One, or do you want to play Four Down Territory? Which one he wants to do with you? You get to choose.
Door number 2.
All right. Four Down Territory. So,
Oh my God.
Nebraska.
Omaha.
Nebraska.
Omaha.
I will start it out. Irish Swede, your favorite flavor of ice cream.
Oh, without a doubt, cookie dough.
Well played.
Okay, that's a good answer.
Played. Well played.
Cookie dough is out. What's your second favorite?
Butterfinger, and my favorite is to actually have them mixed together.
He's a mad scientist.
You're a diabolical genius. All right, Big House.
Jesus fucking Christ, that's Jason Bourne.
And the Sonic app allows me to do that.
By the way, Big House, remember, closed-ended questions.
I got you.
Okay.
Hey, like my man said in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, relax. I'm a professional.
Relax.
So the blending is a great segue to my question. Swede, you are now a Mormon. Who are your 3 sister wives?
My 3 wives?
You got your wife, you got your number 1, you got your primary, but who are your 3 sister wives?
You got your Bathsheba. Nah.
Right.
Sue Bird.
Okay.
The WNBA player.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
And I'm gonna go.
No. You got 3.
You got 3.
You got 3.
Yeah, you're living the good life.
OG wife and then other 3 wives. Oh, I see.
Cara Delevingne.
Who?
Cara Delevingne.
Who is that?
Oh, I see it here.
She was in Valerian in the City of 1,000 Planets.
Oh, okay.
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 That's 2. You got 1 more.
Anna Kendrick.
Anna Kendrick.
Anna Kendrick. She's a good singer. She's got some sex appeal. You know who I find oddly alluring is the AT&T girl.
Oh,
I love the AT&T girl. I love her.
Mila Weintraub.
Yeah, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
She's
if you want an amazing story about the escape from the USSR, her family's is looking.
Oh, careful! It'll get picked up by right-wing outlets as a anti-public banking story.
Yeah. I just hate that AT&T is constantly trying to wash her curves out and not.
She's doing that herself.
Oh,
she's the director and the writer for all the commercials. She got tired of all the comments and said, "Fine, I will not let you see my body anymore."
She takes pictures on. I follow her on Twitter, and like she takes selfies of herself. That girl has a figure for years.
Yeah,
but in the AT&T commercials, she looks very, very. You're right. She looks very, very like.
She's always behind the table now.
She's always behind the table.
Yep.
And when she walks away from the table, they slow it down so you never get to see her exit the table.
And I'm fine with that. Like that's why I said she's oddly alluring because even in the commercials, she's a cutie pie, right? But then you see the other pictures, and you're like, holy cow!
If you look at it, she's the one who directs and writes all the commercials herself. And
that's cool.
And she got tired of the toxic masculinity, I would say, of comments.
Yeah.
Were directed at her and her body. And so she was like, well, fine, you can't see it anymore.
See, this is what I'm saying. If you can't be a mature man and do like my dude did in Hall Pass and go ching 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 and shut the fuck up. You be fucking it up for everybody.
What are you doing?
You know,
Taking pictures.
taking pictures, right?
That's the first movie that Melissa and I ever went to go see together.
Yeah.
We started laughing at that moment the same way, and at the same time, that movie is fucking fantastic.
That movie is hilarious, dude. My
I
man,
want to
my man was
change. I want
batting
to
his
change. No, I got to change my answer from Anna Kendrick to Anna Taylor-Joy.
Who the hell is Anna Taylor-Joy?
On it.
She's the one that played Beth Harmon on the Queen's Gambit.
All right, so she's your sixth man on the bench or fourth woman on the bench. Okay. All right, Mikey, question.
I'm not looking up pictures.
AT&T girl swimsuit.
Okay, I see Anna Taylor-Joy. Okay. Okay.
We do not condone the objectifying of AT&T employees on this show.
I'm not looking.
He's objectifying a totally different woman right now.
Yeah, keep it straight. I mean, I'm not doing that. Sweet, I know you are a fan of the fantasy realms, whether it be D&D or Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones. But if you had to live in one of those imaginary places, where would you live?
Kaladin.
Where the fuck is Kaladin? I gotta look that up.
Dune.
Is that from Vikings?
Oh,
Dune.
I started
Dune,
watching
okay.
that. I started watching that and I immediately fell asleep because
Dune. Frank
They were-
Herbert's Dune.
they were way too.
Kaladin is the Atreides planet, and it is warm. It's lush. It's basically a complete temperate planet all over the entire planet, and it's a paradise.
Is there a guy named Kaladin?
No,
Then what does it keep giving me? How do you spell it?
Kaladin, Caladan. Caladan.
All right, who's got number 4?
I have one unless someone else does.
Go ahead.
Go ahead,
All right.
man.
All right. I'll make it simple. Star Wars or Star Trek, and a quick sentence as to why.
Star Wars, because it's actually realistic how a multi-system empire would actually have to streamline its resource usage and communications.
Huh. I thought you'd say the socialist messages of Star Trek, but there shows I know nothing.
If you get into the underlying, like the novelizations, you get into some of the resource problems that the empire runs into, especially its distribution networks and how Thrawn deals with it in some areas. And
He's coming back into the canon.
which means Ezra is still somewhere.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
What the hell are y'all talking about?
Rebels. And
okay.
and Rosario Dawson, Ahsoka Tano, she said, "Where is Admiral Thrawn?" So they brought him back in during Mandalorian.
Yeah.
When she was fighting
Dawson.
the lady with the Beskar staff. All right, so there we are. Final words for Mr. as we call him on the right wing, Mr. Big Hussein. He's a Muslim.
He's a Muslim.
Very dirty Muslim.
Oh my God, man! You know something? There's so much I could talk about, I guess, but I think that one of the biggest things is how quickly this country turns on people. And we have a very Janet Jackson-like attitude in this country. And Simone Biles is the latest example of the country doing just, what have you done for me lately?
We are a part of a rhythm nation.
That is 2 different fucking songs.
I know.
Anyway, someone who has given so much of herself for this country, because you think about it, you know, you don't just represent the United States in the Olympics. You represent the United States when you go to the World Championships. You represent the United States whenever you're in competition on a national or international stage. So this woman has won more than 30 medals. She's won more than 30 competitions representing the United States. And this one, she says, I might hurt myself if I get out there. So I'm going to step back and let the other ladies take it. And I am not even going to be selfish, brother, and force myself into the individual. I know I don't have it. I know that there's something going on. I don't want to hurt myself. So I'm going to take myself out. And on a dime, boom, the American citizens turn on one of their own. And, you know, that is just the latest in a bunch of examples of how we are not the United States of America. We are supposed to rally around ourselves. We're supposed to rally around each other. We're supposed to see somebody struggling that is one of our own and rally around them and say, hey, we got you. We got you in your time of need. And time again, we don't do that. We don't do that. But it's just embarrassing, I feel. I feel it's embarrassing that, you know, the word united is in how we describe ourselves as a nation, and we are far from it. And I think that we need to do some self-reflection as a citizenry on, you know, what our idea of united is. Sometimes united is being there for someone else in their time of need. Sometimes united is sacrificing a little bit of yourself for the greater good of others. And it just seems like it's all about me. Me as a citizen of the United States. What can I have? What do I deserve? And not enough, you know, we. What do we deserve? What do we need? Who's struggling that we can help in this country because we're united? You know, on a macro level or a micro level, we are not looking out for our fellow man in this so-called United States of America. And it's shameful.
As Swede would say, the opportunity cost is just too high.
No, I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, I know. Mikey.
Well, it's my time to shill. Look, guys, I know we've been talking a lot about banking, but I want you to open up your wallet. Pull out that banking card. Go to patreon.com/digonamerica. Subscribe to the largest, highest tier that you feel comfortable, which should be the highest one. And I want you to give us your hard-earned Disney dollars. We need them because we have shirts to make, and Haas needs Blue Steel needs lotion. That ain't free. Dutch probably has COVID. We're gonna have to replace him. That's expensive.
We got to sign someone else to a 10-day contract.
Should be relatively cheap. Token white guy.
And I'm on antibiotics for none of your fucking business.
Well, I hope that rash clears up, buddy.
Man, me too. Me too.
Wife number 4. Darn her.
So sick of them coming home with cooties.
Who you call lit liquor? Your cootie queen.
Your cootie catcher. But in all seriousness, please, if you like the show and you want to support independent media, go to patreon.com/digonamerica. Every dollar helps, and you help us get towards that $100 goal. And once we hit that goddamn goal, we're going to tax the church. No, we're going to donate a third of our donations or pledges to very well-deserving charities. Swede, you suggested one of them to us. can you remind the lovely folks at home where that money could go?
I would say
that's
the
something
John Ritter
for
Foundation for
you.
Aortic Health. That would be a good one.
Yes.
I'm a
John
big fan of
Ritter.
them.
John Ritter Foundation's on the list.
So
Wounded
the John
Warrior's
Ritter
on the list.
Foundation, they support guys who live with 2 women.
See, you just had to go there. You just had to do it. Couldn't help you.
Come and
Couldn't
knock
help
on our
yourself.
door.
This aorta's for you. But yeah, patreon.com/digonamerica. Help us get to our goal, and so we can help other people and pay for lotion and antifungal creams.
Gotta have the notion and the antifungal creams.
I got a lot of stuff going on my body right now. I apologize.
Actually, all it is Antifa protection money that they have to pay out.
Yes, and I have to take TJ's Gaming Thrones room out of the Patreon. I just noticed, and replace that with something for Michelangelo. So,
holy shit! I finally get something.
I didn't even realize it was still on there until right this second when I just pulled it up to make sure you gave the right address. I'm like, holy shit! It's TJ's picture right there.
Well, no, TJ's still contractually bound to do it.
So, you're right. Okay, so you're
and
right.
he never sang to me.
We'll give TJ the $2 level. I don't need one. You can have the $5 level.
Fine. Join my level, the cool level. Vote for who you want to have the most people in their tier. Me at the $5 level. Anything else? Or can we go home? Can we go home?
We can go home.
All right,
Thank you,
guys.
Swede.
Thanks for popping in there,
Sweet,
Sweetie
thanks, brother.
Pie.
Once again, we learned from you.
And thank you to everybody who's been in the live chat. You guys are awesome. Thank you for helping keep our numbers up. We love you. And we will see you guys next week.
Oh, yep.
Bye.
Oh, next